Hi everyone, this evening I'm playing ASL Scenario S59. It's from one of the starter kits, can't remember which one, apologies. But I'm using the retro rule set. The reason for that is that I don't have a lot of time this evening, I've got about an hour. And once I need to play the game and take it off the table, and I've got something else that needs to go on this table instead. So I've got a little bit of time. And retro is a good rule set that retains a lot of elements that are familiar with squad leader or advanced squad leader, but without a lot of the level of complexity, I would say. And if you don't play squad leader anymore or advanced squad leader in all of its forms, and you kind of would like to, but maybe want something that's a bit more streamlined, the retro rule set is a good option. I'm not saying it's better than ASL, not for 1 minute, but I am saying it's a good, viable option for those types of games. And I think it has some merits of playing solo, I'll be honest. Anyway, the actual scenario is we are in, let me get the sheet, it was the 6th of June 1944. We're in Saint Laurent in France. We've got the Americans, the 115th Infantry Regiment from the 29th Infantry Division over here on this side of the board. And in the town here, we have their German enemies, the elements of Company 5, Grenadier Regiment 916, Infantry Division 352. And they've formed up in this town, and basically the Americans have got to move them out. In particular, there's some Germans there in this church, and they're in a steeple, and I can use the rules from the scenario card perfectly well with retro to account for that, which is great. The Americans will have some naval artillery fire, which will be quite exciting to see if they can dislodge them from that steeple. In the steeple, they've got a squad with a MG42, and they've got a few of the squads dotted around as well. The Americans have quite a few more units, but they've got some open ground to cover. They've got some crops they can go, a crop field they can go through there as well, which will help them. And it is, I think I'll play for 7. I'll certainly play for 7 turns. I may do an 8th turn as well. See how we get on. Should be fairly straightforward and quick to play, I'm hoping. The Americans are definitely going to have a hard time dislodging all the units out of the buildings, which is their objective. That's what they have to do. The Germans, this is why this scenario solos quite well. The Germans can remain in these sort of defensive positions. There are some, in the scenario, there are some specifics about some tunnels, and I might use them if the need arises for the German side. But I think, broadly speaking, certainly to start with, the Germans can stay in their defensive positions that I've placed them in. So no further ado, I will make a start. So how I'll play this. I don't need to film that. You don't need to film me checking through rule books and rolling dice. And I'll give an account of what's happening in the narrative of the battle at the end of every turn, as well as give any thoughts on the retro rule sets. I've done other videos using this rule set. I do quite enjoy playing it with it solo and sort of explaining how the rule set works and maybe a little bit how it's different than squad leader or advanced squad leader for that matter. So yeah, I'll make a start. At the end of the first turn, the Germans have been able to hold on very well. They were able to lay down fire on these advancing American units. There's just one just off camera there, and halt them. Due to the hesitation rule, and the way that works is it's basically as you move into an open hex, you have to roll if you're within range of the enemy. There's some modifiers as well, and the Americans failed one of their rolls, so they weren't able to move a unit as they would wish. Plus, this MG42 team up in this church spire here were able to impact some on this American units here, and this MG here on this unit here. So they're going to have to do some morale checks, see if they can pass to get their squads back into the action. So first turn, Germans definitely halting the Americans. Americans having a hard time of it, advancing under that amount of fire. And reading the description in the scenario, it seems that in the history as well, the Americans came under quite a bit of MG fire from buildings within the town. So, so far, it's proven quite sympathetic to the history. So, yeah, turn 2 next. Now, at the end of turn 2, the Americans have done better, well, slightly better that turn. They've been able to push through these orchards here and assault these buildings here and defeat the Germans that were in that building hex there. So they're in a quite strong position here. However, this unit here did suffer and they are broken, and this unit up here took some casualties. They had already broken and they got hit again and took some significant casualties. So this officer, this squad leader here, is going to now have to move across that road and try and get to this unit here to rally them. You don't have to, they can self-rally. I play it so that one unit can try to self-rally a turn. The Germans, they've lost the units here, but they've still got these defensive positions, and they were able to move this squad here up into this building here. So they've got this sort of line of defences here, and quite a lot of firepower. And the American naval artillery, or barrage, it's classed as naval artillery actually, that's been ineffective yet. It hasn't hit its mark yet. Insistent on hitting this church steeple here. These Americans need to be careful because they can be caught by that as they try and assault this building here. So rather than do that in this couple of next turns, they're going to instead see if they can make good on this German unit here. Well, I think maybe this unit here will do that, and these will try and engage these Germans across the road in a firefight. And this unit here will move up into this building and again try and put down some fire on these Germans in this hex here. We'll see. We're now at the end of turn number 3. In that turn, the Americans here suffered greatly at the hands of this squad with their MG42, and they were all disrupted. So that's in a little bit of a pickle there. Now then, but conversely, the Americans did exactly the same thing to the Germans, but in this hex here. So I'm just having a look at the back of the rules. Here we go. We've got our infantry fire table. So they're both these units in this hex and this unit in this hex are all broken. They'll need to be able to self-rally. They've both got leaders, as you can see, so they hopefully should be able to rally next turn. Now, this is the nature of this scenario. I'm playing it solo. I feel for the Americans, they need to do something a little drastic, a little, push the odds a little bit in their next turn, because I think otherwise they're just going to get bogged down, and it'll end up as a static firefight between hex to hex. These firing on this hex and backwards and forwards, and these firing on this hex backwards and forwards, and the same here. And I think the Americans probably need to use some smoke grenades, and assault and charge in and see if they can clear out these hexes with these Germans. I think we've had enough sort of, inactivity or not decisive enough. So I'm going to give that a try next turn, and we'll see if it works. It may not do, because even with retro, it's still very dicey moving across open ground, especially when you're moving across into the hex adjacent, as the enemy hexes will get double firepower. But I feel like we've got to do something. I'll try something, see if we can break this stalemate. Now, at the end of turn number 4, that's quite an eventful turn, and probably the turn that's turned the tide of battle. The Americans got a very good lucky die roll, and the artillery, so let me just check how it's described in the game. That artillery, naval artillery, hit that church spire dead on with exactly the die roll they needed twice, and eliminated the German units that were in there. So that has freed that up. So that changed the course of action that the Americans then were to take. Rather than try and rush in throwing smokes, instead they were able to lay down quite a bit of fire on the remaining German units and this one has been flipped over, as you can see. So, and they did some rallying. So the Americans have definitely got the upper hand at the minute. There's only really good German units in these two hexes here. There is a unit in there still with the MG, but as you can see, they're sort of the Americans significantly outnumber them, and the Americans certainly have 3 turns left to be able to do that. So I feel like I can call the game there, and it really hinged on that naval artillery taking out that church spire. In addition, the Americans got some good die rolls and able to break some units. So I feel that that's sort of the, I can call the game there, and a very good, pleasant, satisfying wargaming evening playing this scenario with this rule set. The I would say the retro rule set, as I said before, doesn't replace ASL or ASL Starter Kit or Squad Leader for that matter. It just gives you a different option, and it plays. I'll be honest with you, it plays much quicker. So if you don't have much time and you don't want to go into the minutiae of every detail, retro can be a good fit. And playing solo, of course, gives you a lot more ease of play, and then and you can tailor it to your particular requirements as well, and particular tastes as well. And that was quite a close game. I actually felt at one point Americans were going to have a very hard time of it. And whilst they, in the 4 turns, they have 7 turns, and the one thing I do find is that when you take a ASL scenario, put it into retro, technically there's enough differences in retro to say maybe the scenario isn't as balanced with retro rule set as with normal ASL or starter kit rules, whatever the intention is there. But you can still have fun playing it, especially if you're playing solo. And I feel that fits the game tonight. So I really enjoyed that. It is a quick playing game. I think it's taken me absolutely no more than an hour to play, and that includes doing the videos as well, etc., and setup and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, really enjoyed it. If you have played retro, if you play ASL using the retro rule set, always interested in any thoughts and comments. There is a retro solo sort of document, and I've been through it and have used it. You absolutely can do that as well. I quite happily playing two-handed, so that suits my particular tastes. But you can do that as well. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching as always, and yeah, thank you.